Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? It's your boy Isaac,
And this is your boy Bryce.
and we are brothers on tennis. And folks, we are so very happy to be talking with a young man that we had the privilege of meeting at World Team Tennis this past fall, the October November Indian Wells edition, if you will. And I mean, this guy is just he's a quality guy, and we just enjoyed our discussions with him and Bryce. I know that we've been wanting to get him on this show and on our podcast, and we finally have him.
Finally, right? I tell you what, scheduling has been so crazy on our end, not on his end. And so things slowed down for us a little bit. And we reached out and he was available. We knew he had some things going on in the spring, but he was available. So we're glad to have him here. And let's introduce who we have. And the gentleman that is speaking with us today is Carlos Carrera. He is just recently finished a stint as being an assistant coach for the women's tennis team at Columbia University. He also graduated while he was there, so we'll want to make sure we hear about that as well. But when we first met Carlos at World Team Tennis, he was also working with the World Team Tennis organization as well. So we want to ask him a bunch of questions about the tennis collegiate experience, as well as what's going on with World Team Tennis. So, Carlos, welcome to Brothers on Tennis.
Thank you so much, Bryce, Isaac. It's great to be here. It's funny because we just randomly happened to be at the BIP that one night at World Team Tennis, and we just started chatting. And we're all tennis lovers, tennis fans, so we connected right away. And I'm glad that we made it happen a few months after, but it's better late than never.
That's right. That's right. And Carlos, once again, it's great to have you on. And for our listeners, and we always like to kind of get a little bit of backstory from our listeners. So talk to us about how you came to start playing and or enjoying the game of tennis. So how old were you, and how did that whole thing come about?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I'm from Ecuador, South America, so it's a very heavy soccer, football, which is called down there, culture. So it's not
Right.
so common that people play other sports down there. And I guess for me, it was all about my cousin, who for some reason my uncle always loved the sport, and he put her in tennis, and she was competing at junior level. And then everybody in my family was working and busy, and my mom was the only one who was a housewife, so she was taking care of us, and she would be the only one who could go to the tournaments with my cousin. So she would drive my cousin to the tournaments, and I was like 4 or 5 years old, and she was taking care of me. So she would drag me along with her, and I would go to the tournaments, and that's the first introduction to the sport. I held a racket for the first time, and I was hitting some balls and just like banging around. And I guess they saw I really enjoyed it, and they put me into lessons. And then I never really let it go until now. So it's been a great ride.
Nice.
So,
And go ahead, Bryce.
I'm sorry, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I might be wrong on this. Was the tennis legend from Ecuador Andres Gomez?
That's right. Yeah, the only Ecuadorian to ever win a Grand Slam. He won the French Open in 1990.
Okay, so I
Nice.
assume he was a big role model for you.
Yeah, definitely he was. You always look up to those big players, especially from him being Ecuadorian and making it at the tour level from such a small country. You don't hear that too often, so you always look up to him. And I actually was. I mean, I know him pretty well because his youngest son, what I can't remember his name. But he used to be in my. He was a year younger, but we would play together. So one year we would overlap in the same category and under in the juniors. So I knew him sort of kind of well, and he helped me actually when I was applying for a work visa to be able to coach. He actually drafted a letter for me so that I can get the visa as a supporting document, just to say so. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And so Carlos, going through kind of like your formative years, did you like play for a high school, or or anything like that, or did you join like the junior tour or anything? Because you played, so I'm just kind of wondering about that on your side.
Yeah, no, the structure down there is a little bit different. You don't have much high school sports. Only soccer. Soccer is pretty big, so all the high schools play against each other. But in terms of other sports, it's not really a structure or a system in place that can allow people to play at the high school level. So what you do is you play on your own. You play privately, and then you just compete in state or national tournaments. And if you're doing pretty well, you can expand it to internationally. Of course, the tough part internationally is the expenses. If you have the economic ability to do so, then you can of course do so. But I mostly competed at the state and national level. And at around like 15 years old, I joined like the state academy sort of, and that was a big step up for me. That's when I really got to improve a lot of my game. I was playing with some of the best players in the country. Some of them went to win national NCAA national tournaments. One of the players that I used to train with, Marilise Casares, she went to Vanderbilt and she won the NCAA national tournament with them. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
That's insane. So when you finished playing, I guess kind of as a junior in terms of your state and your national tournaments, what happened then?
Yeah, I mean, as a young guy, as a young kid who doesn't have the desire to play professionally, right? That was always the goal growing up as a kid. But once you start coming of age and you're like 16, 17, and you understand the environment a little bit more, understand the landscape, understand the process and how much effort it takes to make it there. Not that I didn't have the work ethic to get there. It's just so many other components, basically economic components and some other things that play a huge role into making it at the professional level. Then the next biggest and best option was college, right? I didn't want to stop playing tennis, and in Ecuador, there's no college organization in terms of anything, college athletics or anything. So I would basically, if I stay there studying university, I would have completely quit playing tennis or stopped playing tennis, and that's what I didn't want. I always wanted to continue playing, even if I was at the college level. I've always been competitive and have enjoyed competition and playing and competing. So my best option was college. So I started applying to schools. I hired sort of an agency down there that would do it everything for you. So I hired them and they helped me to get a scholarship in the States.
Oh, wow. I had no idea that you actually had to that there was an agency that would do something like that. That's really interesting. So when you hired them, they went back. I assume they applied to all of these colleges, came back to you. I mean, was St. Peter's the sort of the first choice, or did you have multiple? How did that whole process work, and how did you make your determination to go where you went?
Yeah, it was exactly like that. They would help you with like videos, contacting coaches, making a profile online, SATs, and all of the different checklists that you need in order to apply. And then they would basically lay out the options on the table, and they were like, this university offers this much of a scholarship, you have to pay this much, this other one, this one, and that one. And unfortunately for me, the economic side of it was sort of like the biggest differentiator for me, and St. Peter's was the one that offered the most scholarship, meaning I had to pay the least to attend that school. So that was, and then it was again a good location, Jersey City, which is close to New York. Who doesn't want to be close to New York? And it was a D1 program. I knew that I wanted to go to a Division 1 program for sure. So I think it sort of filled some of the buckets that I was looking for, and it was a no-brainer to go there. It was a small school, a small program, but overall, just a great experience for me coming from South America, from Ecuador, a third world country, to be able to come to the States and go to school and play tennis. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that for me, whether it was St. Peter's or any other school.
Right, I can imagine. And so my question, which is, I guess, a little bit broader than tennis. I just came back from Roland Garros for the first time. My first time in Paris, so brand spanking new American in Paris. No experience over there, and I know what that felt like. What was the transition like for you coming from Ecuador, just living in the United States and the college system and fast food restaurants and everything?
Yeah, it can definitely be a shock. I think personally for me, it wasn't that hard of a transition. Obviously, it was hard. I think the biggest thing was just the change of things, being away from family, from friends, from everything that you were used to. I think that was the biggest thing for me. But other than that, it was okay. I guess I think I learned and I grew to be a lot very independent because I was basically out of the house all day. Like ever since I was 8 or 9 and I started really getting into tennis and wanting to play competitively, I would go to school from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. I would come back, get a lunch break, and then right away go to practice from like 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Come back at 8 o'clock, do some homework, and then go to sleep. So you're basically out of the house the whole day. You learn to be independent. And around 15, 16, I was already competing and traveling. I had the opportunity to compete internationally for the first time in a few ITF tournaments, but obviously I didn't have enough money uh, to pay the expenses for myself and for a coach. So I traveled by myself. I went to Colombia, to Venezuela, to four ITF tournaments in Colombia and Venezuela by myself, only at 15 years old. So I think I learned how to be independent and just be on my own still be able to be happy and well. So I think that really set me up nicely to be in US in college all alone. Plus, you get a team, you get a coach, you get a sort of like a family a place where you think that you can belong and that you feel safe. So I think that even though there's some things that are hard about it, I think overall, you feel very welcome and you feel like you're doing some amazing things. So it sort of balances out.
Gotcha. And so, Carlos, when you came to the States and you went to the university, did you have any family whatsoever around, or were you just you were it? I mean, you were it, huh?
Yeah, that was it. I was on my own. I have an aunt in Florida who married an American, and she moved to Florida 20 plus years ago. But she was far. I was in up in Jersey, so it wasn't that close. So yeah, it was pretty much me. So yeah, it's tough, but you really learn a ton. You grow a lot. You mature a lot, and I think the other side of it, now that I've been away for a lot more years, I think it also makes you value and appreciate more a lot other things like family and friends and things like that. So I think it helps you tremendously to be able to move away and to come anywhere, right? This in my case to the States, but it doesn't have to be. It can be anywhere as well.
So talk to us about your collegiate tennis playing experience. How did you do? What, was the whole college structure and platform of playing? Was that something new for you to get used to, having teammates? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I thought I- if you asked this question, fun, if you asked this question a few years ago, it would probably been a different answer. But I always thought that my experience at St. Peter's was amazing. I'm always grateful of everything that I was able to do and the program and the school for all those 4 years that I competed there. But after joining Columbia, an Ivy League school, big program, big budget, I really sort of had a grasp of how a good program performs and how a real program is organized and everything. So now that I look back, I'm like, wow, like I really, it's not like a regret, but I really wish that I had been part of a program like this, just because I thought I had a lot of potential. I'm just curious to see what I could have accomplished with a big more resources and better people surrounding me and strength and conditioning coaches and nutrition coaches and all of these other extra things that some of the bigger programs have. But other than that, I think overall, just my experience at St. Peter's was great. Being able to be part of a team, it's a whole different environment, a whole different experience. And you were playing a lot. You were training a lot, playing every weekend. I really think that I thought that I was coming as a pretty developed player. And the fact that you train so much and you play so many matches across the season here in the States gets you even better. So I really gained a lot of confidence, and my game really evolved coming from clay down in South America to hard here. So I became a better, more complete player with different weapons than I used to have before. So it was a really cool transition, and I really, really enjoyed my whole experience.
Gotcha. So tell me this, Carlos. So you're at St. Peter's, you're playing on the team, you're getting results. At what point, I guess, did you come to the conclusion that you weren't going to, I guess, pursue the professional tennis route? I'm trying to kind of figure out, when did you determine, okay, the coaching thing is for me, and I'm still going to play and be a player, but I'm going to take this alternate path? When to kind of explain or talk to us about how that whole process worked for you and how it came about.
Yeah, absolutely. I graduated in 2015, and I was an accounting major, and I started interviewing. I think the plan was always to tennis. I mean, once I got to college, the mindset and the plan was, I'm still gonna play tennis just because I love it so much and I enjoy playing and I love competing. But it's just a means to a greater thing, and in this case, the greater thing is in education. And after I graduate, I think I was ready to hang my rackets and do what you're supposed to, get a job and climb up the corporate ladder and do all of those good things. But I graduated and I was having a tough time finding a job. I had a bunch of interviews. There was a lot of opportunities in accounting, and I was interviewing and I had some job offers, but nobody really at the time offered me the opportunity to sponsor me a visa, and that was really important to me because I didn't want to work anywhere for a year. My potentially my last year in the States, like work like crazy, work really hard for someone, and they just let me go at the end of the year. So I was really looking for someone who was going to give me not that opportunity only for that year that I was allowed to work, but somebody who was going to invest in me and giving me opportunities to grow and opportunities to stay in the country and fulfill all the dreams that I had at the time. So nobody was really giving me that. And then out of the blue, I found an opportunity just from searching around in online. I found an opportunity to join a small tennis provider in Jersey City, where my school was. This tennis provider was doing after-school programs for small pre-K schools in Jersey City, and they were looking for a coach who can help them out on court to teach some lessons and teach some of the after-school programs, but also someone who can help them a little bit on the business side and do some marketing and some email communication and some logistics stuff and some promotion in events and things like that. So I really enjoy the idea of being able to work not only on the court and be a coach, but also on the business side of the thing and get a little bit of business experience because that's always important. So I took on that role, and I really immediately like fell in love with coaching. It was just it just came so easy for me. I love the sport, and I love being able to give back everything that I've learned at the time. I think I was a player for 15 plus years, and I was like, you know what, like I think I have a lot to give back to the younger generation, so why not take this as a career and see where it can take me? And then I really took on it seriously, and I made it my career, and I just pursue any coaching opportunity out there, and that's what then eventually led me to Colombia.
And so, like you said, Columbia is a real program, Ivy League school. As you know, we're doing a spotlight series on one of the Harvard players, Maxie Duncan.
Yeah.
And I was keeping my eye on the weekend that your two teams matched up there. But, talk to us about what you learned at Columbia, because clearly listening to you talk about the experience there, you felt like that was definitely something to experience and to behold.
Yeah, no, I think my experience at Colombia has been by far, I think, one of the best experiences I had so far in terms of a job. I think, growing up as a tennis player, whenever I had the opportunity to travel to some local tournaments or whatever it was with a coach and a group of players who were colleagues and friends, and we would train together and do everything together. I think that was a really cool experience. And I remember as a kid always thinking, I think it'll be really cool to someday be part of something like this as a coach, and travel with my team and do all the things together. And I would wonder how that is. And then eventually I landed that at Colombia. So I think it was in a way a dream job for me. So it was a great experience being part of the program. And I'm really grateful to the head coach who, as I joined as a volunteer assistant coach in 2018. But I think she also saw the potential and the passion and the love for the game, and she really um, gave me a lot of opportunities and a lot of responsibilities for an assistant coach. For a volunteer assistant, I was getting a lot of responsibilities, and I think I really took it on with an open heart and just made the best out of it. And those 4 years have been some of the best times in my entire life.
Oh, that's amazing. That's excellent. And Carlos, what I'd like to actually ask you about is you go there in 2018, and you're seeing all of these different nuances in the program, and then all of a sudden we run into COVID and the pandemic. Talk to us about kind of what that looked like, or how did the program and how did you kind of work with the program through that lockdown, if you will? Because I mean, it was pretty much a year plus. I mean, it differed for different places, but talk to us about that, if you would.
Yeah, I think it was really disappointing. I remember at the time when COVID happened, we just had come out of our best win in program history. We beat FIU at home. They were ranked, I think, 31 or something, and we made the highest ranking in the school history, which was 21st in the NCAAs. So we were like really building towards a great finale, to say so, and potentially maybe, well, we'll never know, but winning Ivies or potentially getting that postseason bid and play postseason. We haven't reached postseason since 2013. So we were really building towards something great. We don't know what the end would have been, but we were really excited about the season and we were doing really well. And then all of a sudden, when something like that happens that you have absolutely zero control over, it's really disappointing. And I guess for me as a coach, I wasn't really doing the playing and everything, but just seeing how devastated the players were to not be able to compete and to see what they could have done and to be together and train together and do all the things that in a sense make us whole and make us happy. I think that was the toughest part, to see the kids. But you live and you learn, and I think it was something good at the end. And I mean, after a year and a half that we weren't able to compete, I mean, looking back, the first time the first season that we got back together, which was in the fall, it made everything 1,000 times better, because after having been deprived of not being able to be together and train and play and travel and all of these great things that we do as a team, then we had it again. So everybody was even more excited to be back, and they appreciated it even more, and they were more present and doing the right things. So I think, having that little break at the time felt tough, but then once we got back together, we had a blast. And it was, in terms of performance and how the team did, wasn't one of our best seasons, this last one, but in terms of the team environment and the culture and the camaraderie, I think it was one of the best years that we've had so far.
So, Carlos, we have listeners that in the next couple of years, they will be making the decision of whether or not to pursue their tennis passions on the professional circuit, or do they go the college route? You obviously have great experience about the college experience. What advice would you have for those people in terms of considering whether to go directly pro or to go the collegiate route?
Yeah, I would advise them to be a little patient. I think there's so many great things about first going to college, for many different aspects, which I'll get into. But I think they just have to first look at what's happening on tour, right? Like, except for the young boy Alcaraz, I think more and more the players are really making it at the later, being older, um, and players playing even having longer careers than before. You see Nadal, who just won Roland Garros, which is amazing. So there is no rush to make it right away. And again, college can give you so many great experiences. First of all, being part of a team and having sort of a different environment and a different experience than you're used to, because you're always used to traveling alone and competing, and it can get a little bit um, lonely at points. So it's great to have something else to play differently. It can really help your game. Like I said, for me, um, I grew up in South America, which was clay courts, and then everything in college was hardcore. So I had to adapt my game. I learned how to take the ball early. I learned how to come in, close at the net. So you're learning a lot of not only important skills in tennis, but then also the whole experience. You're learning to be a little more independent. You're going to school. You're having to manage your time. So you're learning skills on court and off court that will serve you whether you're a professional athlete or not. And then I guess from my experience at Colombia, the Ivy Leagues are getting so competitive and so good, and they're competing against these top ranked teams that have a lot of scholarships and of course they have a lot of top players, but just setting yourself up for what's coming after, because whether you are a professional or not, at some point that's going to end. You can't be a professional athlete forever, right? Except unless you're Roger Federer or Rafael Nadal, but but those are two in a million and millions and billions. But yeah, so you have to also look at the big picture and setting yourself up with a degree for what's going to come after you're a professional. It's always going to be beneficial. So I think in terms of maturity and having a different experience and learning new skills and getting a degree, I think there's so many positives that it's hard to not go with the college route.
Right. And Carlos, I just want to recognize the point that you made earlier, the fact that you went to school, but the ultimate goal was to get that education and to get that degree. And I think a lot of people miss that fact. So yeah, just kudos to you for that, because again, a lot of people really can utilize this sport for bigger things. Because not everybody, like you said, will be a Roger Federer or a Nadal. Some people will have to, do some different things. So kudos to you on that part. So talk to us about when you were at Columbia, you were volunteering, you're volunteer assistant coach. What were some of the actual day-to-day things that you did, and what do you feel like you brought to the program?
Yeah, I think since day one, I was recognized heavily on just my energy, bringing a lot
Mm-hmm.
of energy to the court and to the practice. I'm a very, upbeat, very happy guy, and I'm always smiling. I'm always having fun, whether I'm coaching or playing or whatever it is that I'm doing. So I think I really brought, like from day one, I think that was a big something that I did. As a volunteer assistant coach, just bring a lot of energy to the court, whether we were practicing or playing matches or whatever it was. I think that was from day one what I brought. But then um, in terms of some of the duties that I did, I was on court, obviously coaching. We would do like individuals with some players one on one, and then the whole team would come. We would do team sessions. I would also help out with, logistics, scheduling practices, scheduling matches, reaching out to coaches, um, recruiting a little bit as well. I was able to do recruiting calls, especially the calls were in Spanish because I had that skill. Since I'm from Ecuador, I try to talk to coaches or parents and answer some of their questions in their own language, which makes it a lot easier to communicate and to get the point across. So that was a good thing as well. And I think the biggest thing was also taking on the social media for the team. The head coach and the assistant are doing so many things that they don't really have time to handle everything. So I was uh, at the time also I started doing my graduate degree in sports management. So I was learning a lot of really cool things from the sports industry, and to be able to apply it right away on the team was another good experience for me. So I took on the social media as well. So yes, those were some of the things that I did when I joined the program.
And so I'm very interested in understanding, you know, your progress seems all very linear at this point. Where did World Team Tennis come in to play?
Yeah, absolutely. So I joined the program, like I said, in 2018 in the fall. I worked for a year, and at the time, I always had the idea of getting some college experience as a volunteer assistant to be able to get my master's degree at some point as a graduate assistant. That way, you don't have to pay for the master's for the education. You work as an assistant, and they pay for your school, of course. So that was always the goal. So that's why I was super happy, super stoked to join the Columbia program in 2018 to get that experience to eventually be able to get my master's. But like I said, I feel like in 2018 when I joined, the impact and the impact of being part of an Ivy League school, Columbia, and the community, the people you're surrounded with, and the network you're getting. I just saw that impact right away, and I just got inspired. I was like surrounded by so many bright people, driven, hardworking people that really wanted to do well and to change the world in a sense. And I was like, wow, like I would love to go to school here. I'm already one step in the door. I'm a part of the staff. Why not try to get my education here if that was the plan ultimately? So I started looking into programs, and I found the masters in sports management, which I joined, and it made total sense. I've been coaching at the time for about like 5 or 6 years. I had some experience on the business side working for that organization that I mentioned, and I also did some work for USDA during the 2018 and the 2019 US Open. So those kind of experiences sort of made the perfect transition for me to get a master's in sports management and get some of the technical skills and the necessary things to be able to work in sports, but more on the business side. And my last semester on the fall of 2019, or second to last semester, I think, I needed to do an internship to be able to graduate from the program. So I started looking into internships, and I found this opportunity with World Team Tennis, and just the connection was evident, right? I was doing the program and getting the necessary skills for the business side, and World Team Tennis was looking for a corporate partnerships intern. And I came from not only the background of the education in Colombia, but also I've been a tennis player my whole life. I've worked as a coach, worked in Colombia as an assistant coach, so everything sort of made sense. And I got that position, so I interned for World Team Tennis for the fall of 2019. That's how I came across.
And was that just during the fall, Carlos, or did you, or because we saw you, of course, in 2021. So were you still interning at that point, or
Yeah.
was it something different?
Sorry, no, the fall 2019, I started the program, but I started part time. So I just kept doing classes every semester, a couple classes here and there. And then in 2020 or 21, sorry, that's when I needed the internship to graduate. And that's when I joined World Team Tennis as an intern.
Wonderful, wonderful. Nice, nice. And as far as I guess well, you kind of mentioned some of the things that you did with World Team Tennis, but kind of pointing out some specifics. Were there specific things that you were assigned in that internship that really stood out to you and sort of really kind of, made your day, or they were kind of good nuggets, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I came in with absolutely no expectations, because at the time I had not had a lot of experience on the business side of the sports. Like I said, just a couple of experiences here and there. But joining the World Team Tennis really opened my eyes to how amazing the industry is and how many different things you can do, even on the business side. So I did corporate partnerships, which was a really cool experience, because it sort of combined both the world of business, where I was like on my computer, like reaching out to people, prospecting to potential partners who might want to invest some dollars on the event, or reaching out to companies who we needed to make deals with. For example, like we needed like 25 rental cars, so I was tasked with finding like the most efficient and cheaper option in terms of rental cars, and things like that. I was building decks to present to partners. I was building proposals. I was building, brainstorming to figure out how a brand can fit within the event to make their products or services, to make an impactful campaign or something like that. So that was a really cool experience. And then during the event, when I met you guys, it was also a lot of hands-on, just being there, helping out with things. I was helping out with clinics, doing some clinics in the morning. I was helping out at the event, making sure that the partners were getting the most out of their investment dollars, meeting people. I put together the players party that guys were a part of. I was working on that as well. So I just thought that, coming from a coaching background, I never saw myself getting a 9 to 5 job and just being in an office from 9 to 5. That was never the plan. And having this experience in corporate partnerships where I was a little bit on the office, doing some work on the computer and stuff like that, but also being able to be on the field, just wearing many different hats and doing so many different interesting things, I think really was like an opening experience, a turning point. And I was like, wow, like the sports industry is really cool. You can do so many different events and different things. And that's when I started getting into events and some other things that I have done since then. So that was a really, really cool experience for me.
So I think in the States, of course, where World Team Tennis is, even your tennis fans aren't even watching that as much as I think we'd like them to. I think maybe the viewership picked up a little bit during the pandemic because people were so starved for tennis on television. But what would you say to our listeners about, how they can get involved with World Team Tennis? Not only, what the pros play every year, but also there are local um, opportunities for people to play in World Team Tennis leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just to start off from a product standpoint, the idea behind World Team Tennis, I think it's like nothing you see out there in terms of the sports because all these other sports and nowadays even more, they're talking about equality and the same payment for women and men and all these big stances about equality and everything, but none of them are truly really equal because women are on one side and men are on the other, right? They're competing. So the really cool and interesting thing about World Team Tennis is that it puts men and women on the same stage. They're part of a team and they're both competing for the same team, contributing to the team the same amount, having the same exposure and broadcasting and television, getting the same prize money and everything. So it's in a sense, I think from what I know and with sort of research, World Team Tennis is the one and true, only unique, equal, men and women league in terms of a sport. So I think from that sense is really cool. And then some other things that also make it interesting is the format. It's a different format. You're playing, like I said, as part of a team. You're playing short sets, no ad scoring. You're counting the amount of games that you play, and I think I didn't really know how much fun it is until I was really watching it. Because at the time I've been coaching for playing tennis and coaching for so long, and even being there and watching and the game so interesting and the format and everything, I was just so excited and even as a tennis player and that who has played the sport for so long, so that just goes to show how big of an impact it can have. But yeah, it's tough to compete against all these other tournaments and all these other events and entertainment, because in a sense the sport is competing against other forms of entertainment as well. So it's tough to compete out there with everyone. That's why it hasn't had a lot of attention, I think. And also just from an economical standpoint, it's a small league, so it doesn't really have the buying power to advertise and to promote as much as we would have want to. So I think that's what keeps it a little bit lower. But then again, like you said, there's opportunities to not only get involved from a sporting and an entertainment portion of it, but for our tennis players out there, World Team Tennis holds local community leagues as well, where you can experience the sport, like the format and the event itself, by being part of a team, putting together 2 men, 2 women on a team, and just getting out there on the courts and doing it on your own. And I think, like I said, like the format is truly unique and it makes it for a really cool experience. So for anyone out there, look it up, research, and get out there and experience it yourself because it's really, really cool.
Right. I tell you what I love about your story is that, and we've heard like Leslie Allen talk about this, and she has stated, you can love tennis and you can work in tennis without having to be a professional tennis player. If tennis is your passion, it's a whole industry of jobs supporting and surrounding tennis that you can pursue. And you are a great example of how, you used, tennis to get all the way up to a graduate degree from an Ivy League school. And by your own words, coming from a third world country. You have definitely, as we like to say, you've done the most.
Thank you.
So with that, So number one, Isaac and I both just really salute you for your accomplishments. So talk to us kind of what's the next phase for you?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, guys. I'm really, truly proud of everything that I've been able to accomplish. So, no, thank you for your words. It means a lot. And I guess just to leave it out there, I think one of the things that I've realized over the years that has gotten me here, in a sense, is passion and just doing the things for the right reasons, right? Because I never was like, oh, I just want to coach because it's the easy way out of college to make some money and then figure it out. It was never about the money or about making it easy or anything for me. It was always about passion and love for the game. So I think people, in a sense, saw that, and that's why I was able to grow and network and get myself through different stages of my coaching career to eventually be a Colombia, and then use that as a way to get a higher education. And like you said, it's not only there's not only an industry out there to be part of the sport, only in tennis as a coach or whatever, but there's also in the sport. Like, who doesn't want to work in sports, right? Sports, the passion that they evoke and the love for sports is so big that working in sports is it's really cool, and that's my ultimate goal. That's sort of a lean into my ultimate goal, which is I really truly want to work in sports. But after coaching for 6 or 7 years, I realized that it's really tough. It's tough physically because you're out there. If you really want to make decent money, you have to hustle and you have to work hard and be out there for hours. And then people who you're coaching, they play on the weekends, right? So you don't have weekends off, and it's hard to do stuff, to have just a normal life, in a sense. So that's why, even though I love it so much and I love the game and I love coaching, and like I said, being at Colombia has been one of my dream jobs. It has helped me realize that some other things are important to me as well, and some other things that I want to explore and I want to do with my life, and I'm willing to let go of my dream job to be able to see what else is out there and pursue. I always know that if I don't like it or if I'm not used to it, I can always go back to coaching. That's always going to be there for me. The love and the passion and the game of tennis will never leave me. It's always going to be with me, in a sense. But yeah, I'm just looking to transition more to the business side of the sports. If it's in tennis, that'll be great. But honestly, after being involved in the sport for so long, I don't really mind if it's not a tennis job. So I've gotten some experiences, and I really love the events part of it and the partnership side of things, like we mentioned, because of my experience with World Team Tennis. So I really like events, and I've been just volunteering and doing internships. I don't really want to commit to a full-time job right now because I want to see what is out there, and I want to experience as many things as possible to be able to decide what I really want to do. So I've been doing some things on the side. I volunteered at a fitness event in Miami at the beginning of the year. I'm currently doing an internship for Formula E, which is really cool and something really different. It's racing cars. And then I also volunteered for a CrossFit competition in Madison, Wisconsin at the end of the summer. So I'm really just honestly grasping as much as I can anything that is out there in terms of the sports industry, and just seeing what I like, what I don't like, and that can really help me to see what the next step is for me moving forward.
Carlos, you are busy, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is awesome because variety is the spice of life. And honestly, I feel like you're doing the right thing. You want to go out there, test the waters, make sure you really, really know where you're going. And honestly, based on, again, our interactions, when we met you, we felt that energy, we felt that passion that you exude. So I at least feel like you will definitely be successful regardless of whatever path you choose. I think that you are a very, very solid young man, and just thank you for coming on and speaking your story for us.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Like I said, back then when we meet, you guys talk to me about what you guys do, and you guys are doing an amazing job as well. And you're bringing that passion as well, and trying to reach people and show them how cool our sport is, and bringing people on board and showing the different tournaments and all of that. So you guys are doing as well a great job for the sport and for all the tennis lovers out there. So yeah, just keep doing it.
All right. Well, I tell you what, your energy is so infectious and your story is inspirational. And we just can't wait till our paths cross again because I know that they will at some point. But we thank you so much for coming on the show today. And, listeners, this was Carlos Carrera. Keep his name in the back of your mind because you might see him somewhere someday. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. So, listeners, we're going to continue doing this for you. We're going to continue bringing you very interesting stories that you're not catching in the mainstream media and this sport that we absolutely love, this game of tennis. So continue to listen to us all through the summer. You're going to have some really good stuff coming your way. So on behalf of the podcast, this has been your boy Bryce.
And this is your boy Isaac.
And we are Brothers on Tennis. Everyone, take care.